G'day Finroo, how you doing? Welcome along. Homebrew Wednesday on a Wednesday, funny enough. I've been out here in my brewery and was sipping on this one here is the XPA that I made with what have we got? With some, I think it was the last of my the last of my homegrown hops and some Materi hops that I added to it. Wonderful beer. Really happy with the way that it turned out. And you can see it's really, really clear and the heat retention is fantastic. So what I want to talk about today is what's happening here with these brews. You'll notice on the last 3 brew days, the last few videos, that I've just been using one malt, an American pale malt, and some hops. So some of my homegrown hops and a few other things, but just basically just a single malt. And what that's given me is a really, really good efficiency on my mash, up a few points just from using the one malt. Diastatic, I think the word is efficiency or diastatic. There's I have to get back to you on that. I remembered it, but I've forgotten it. But it's a diastatic, which basically means the ability for the malt to make the sugars that are going to be fermentable. Okay, so some of the specialty grains they need a pale malt in order to increase their diastatic efficiency to ferment. So for example, if you were to put some dark malts, a lot of dark malts, and just make a dark beer without any pale malts, you probably wouldn't get very good efficiency. Well, you wouldn't get very good efficiency on the mash. In fact, it may not convert over to fermentable sugars because they're just not that way inclined. So what we do is we mash it. That's why we use a lot of pale malts with a high diastatic power. I think the word might be. It might be the word I'm looking for, diastatic power. And so that's an enzyme that goes in there in the conversion in the mash and turns the sugars into fermentable sugars. Okay, so what I've got here is a single malt. So it's got full diastatic power, and so I've got really good efficiency on the single malts. So, for example, 5 kg of American ale malt has given me a beer that's 5.7%. I would imagine that if I made a beer that was with, let's say, 4 kg of pale malt, and then I added the rest in specialty malts, some dark malts, some crystal malts, and blah, 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 then the efficiency of the convertible sugars would be less because they can't be converted very well, but the diastatic power from the pale malt in the mash goes through and it adds to it, and it actually makes it, those specialty malts enables them to become part of the mash and the efficiency. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm kind of trying to say is that if you have 5 kg of pale malt, you're going to get really good diastatic efficiency. Good, it's mostly going to be converted. If you add specialty malts to it, then that diastatic power is going to be enable these specialty malts to actually produce fermentable sugars. I'll have a look at this video. I'm always worried that I'm going to that I'm making it more complicated than it is. But basically, single malts or just pale malts are really, really good at at converting to fermentable sugars, whereas specialty malts, your darks, your chocolates, crystals, and all those other specialty malts on their own don't convert very well. Okay, take out of that what you want. Hey, but guys down here. So this beer here, as you can see, so this is a single malt, but I've used a couple of different malts, my homegrown hops, and I've also added my some others, a few Moteri hops and things like that. It's a huge glass. That might be an imperial pint, I think. But cheers and welcome along. All right, buddy. He's doing really well, old Baxter, and we're going back to Twizel for a month. We've been given the okay to use the batch, and we'll be going there for a month next month. So just 1 month this time, and it's just a holiday, and just me and him, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. Cheers. And as I say in Scotland, here's to looking up your kilt. Cheers, Don. That's a mammoth glass there. So that's a really good beer. And the thing is about what I want us to talk about that is when we are brewing beer and we are trying to, I think the mistake that we make a lot is what we do is we'll brew a beer to a style, and we'll look up a recipe, and then we'll brew it with our process that we've got. And we brew it and we taste it and we go, hey, that's really good. Not exactly what I want. And then we go to another style. I think that I want to brew this. I want to brew a stout. We brew a stout and we think, that's really good, but still not quite my cup of tea. And we kind of go from this, well, a lot of people go from this style to that style to this style to that style and never actually get their process down. So what I'm trying to hammer home here with home brewers is to maybe start with just pale malt. In this case, it's Gladfield's American ale malt. And just working with a single malt and some different hops. It's just like a smash, single malt, single hop. And so what you're going to do is you might think to yourself, oh, I'm going to make a single malt, right? Single malt, and I'm going to add in some fuggles. I'm going to put some fuggles in at 60, fuggles in at 20, some in at 10, some in at 5, and some at flame out. Gives you a really good idea of, what your base malt tastes like. Gives you a really good idea of what your fuggles taste like. And they are really good. Those intervals that I just mentioned are really, really good. They're basic. Never mind about flame out. Well, I've got flame out's good, but never mind about whirlpool or cold, or what do they call it? Cold, when they put the hops in the fermentation. Never mind about that. Don't worry about that. That comes later. If you can just stick to sort of I do first wort 80 minutes, so I put some at 80 minutes. But if you're doing a 60-minute boil, put 5 grams in it 60 minutes. 10, 20 grams in it 20 minutes. 20 grams in it 10 minutes. 20 grams in it 5, and then a little bit in it at flame out. And that'll give you a really good idea of what's actually going on in your brew. Because when you take a really complex recipe and try to put it into your brew day, into your beer, you actually don't know what's going on. So I can see what's going on here because I've got one malt. And do I think it needs a little bit of complex, be a little bit more complex? Well, it could be, but all the same, it's really good as it is. Cheers. And also, if you're just doing a single malt, we talk about water, our water process. When you're trying to get the mash pH right and your water profile right, if you're just using a single malt, then you can tell whether or not it's too sort of malt forward or too bitter forward. So you can adjust it. See, this one here, I adjusted from the one before. I had a little bit too much calcium chloride on it, and so I dialed it back and increased the calcium sulfate, which is giving me a little bit more bitterness, perceived bitterness, and it's a much better beer, only by a little bit, just adjusting that malt profile with the salts, calcium chloride, calcium sulfate. Now, so I think you get the idea that I'm trying to sort of put forward on this channel at the moment, is trying to get back into talking about the science of stuff. So we've talked over the last month, I think, about brewing, about pH. pH of your sparge water. If you've got sparge water, get it under 6 and above 5.1. That makes a huge difference, especially if you're doing stouts and things like that, because as you're sparging, if your pH water from the tap is about 7.8, as you sparge out and you're washing all the acid out, all those sugars are very acidic, and you got a mash pH of, like, say, 5.2 or 5.3. As you're mashing out with water that's let's say 7.8, like it is here, as you go through your sparging and as the sugars are being washed out, then the pH is rising, becoming more not so acidic, and it starts to draw tannins and astringency out of your grains and into your beer, and you don't want that. That is why altering your sparge pH is so important, and because we're adding astringency to our beer, so that's why we do it. That's why I do it. That's why brewers do it, so altering your sparge pH is very important, and a lot of people don't bother with it, but it does make a difference. There's all these little increments to make your beer better. So cheers, and I'm going to show you another beer, and that is wonderful. All I did with that beer, you can see the lacing on the glass, clarity and everything like that. I mean, it's a simple beer. 5 kg of pale malt, a few hops, USO5 that I saved from the brew before, from the slurry that I took from the last brew. And that's basically it. Fermented it at 19 degrees for 3 days, and then up the fermentation to 22 for another 7 days, and then cold crashed it for about 5 days. And the only reason I cold crashed it for 5 days, normally it would be 3, is because I was stuck with fatigue, as you guys know. So, and that's fine. I didn't care. I came out here when I could do it and kicked it, and it's been a beautiful beer. It's been in the keg for quite a while now, and it's absolutely beautiful. Beautiful beer. Now, the other beer I was talking about is the one that I have kegged today, and I just kegged it about 3 hours ago, and I've just put it in the keg, and I burped it, and got rid of the oxygen inside, burped it, and just left it for a bit. And it's not carbonated yet. It's just basically straight out of the vat. Right? So here it is. So this is actually it's the same. Obviously, the one on my right, I mean, I've only just put it in, and it's still a little bit cloudy, and you can see the difference. And it's the same single malt. You can see where it goes to. Darkens up a bit, doesn't it? Anyway, so this one here is a single malt, and I've used 5 grams of Materia hops at first wort 80 minutes, 20 grams of Willamette at 20 minutes, along with some Werflock, some yeast nutrient, and put the copper wet chiller in. Put another 20 grams of Tahiki at 10 minutes, 10 grams of Tahiki at 5, 10 grams of Willamette at 5, and 10 grams of Materia at flame out. And it gave me an OG of 1052. As I said, I used the yeast slurry from the previous beer, US05. Fermented it at 19 degrees for 3 days, and then another 7 days at 22 degrees, and then cold crashed it for I think 4 days. So it's not carbonated. It's not done. But I just wanted to show you guys what I'm doing. So these different hops, let's have a wee taste. Cheers. It's a bit fruity. It's a bit peachy. It's a bit, that stone fruity thing. It's stone fruity. I can't pick up any citrusy notes, or maybe a little bit, but mostly stone fruit. That stone fruity thing, that peach, that plum. Let's have a wee sip. Cheers. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I also want to say that the my mash was let's have a look here. My mash for 1 hour, 65 degrees, and when I finished the mash, it was like 64. So I only lost like one degree. And actually, because of that, it didn't ferment out as far as the last 2 beers. This one was 1008. The one before was 1006, and I hadn't got my shit together, and so I hadn't wrapped the mash tun up enough, and I lost a lot of heat, and so the mash temp got down to under 60. And 60 degrees, and so therefore got a lot of fermentable sugars going on down there, and ended up with a really, really low OG. Sorry, I'm starting to get a bit tired, so I'm going to waffle a bit. But anyway, this one here, I managed to keep the temperature at about 1065, and with the match pH 5.4. So and that's going to be awesome. In a couple of weeks, I may actually do another video next week, but you can see that so that's just straight out of the keg, just basically straight out of the fermenter. Quite like it. Oh, I've just got a bit of the old grapefruit pith. So that's really good. So that would come from the Materia hop, I would imagine. You can see the difference in the colour. It's just the same. It's the same beer. We'll see what the colour's like in a couple of weeks, but it should darken up a little bit like this one. And someone might say, oh, you got oxidation in there, Finru. Well, no, I don't. There's no oxidation there at all. It's just darkened up with a bit of aging. All right, so really good, really happy. I'm going to be just to move on a bit because I see time's running out. Um, this is Manuka. I just picked some Manuka sprigs because I'm trying to save some of the seeds and grow some next year and just give them away at the gate. I'll just make a few seedlings, give away to people. But I want to make a beer, and I'm thinking my next beer, like as promised, will um, be a Manuka spruce tip thing. So what I'm going to do is I'll talk to the guys at Wickham Brewery and I'll see what I have to do. And I've got my Manuka. I don't have any spruce, but I will get onto that, and I might. Actually, what I'm thinking is I might actually do the Tide Bastard. Well, I will call it my mild, but it's probably more of a light porter. Um, as Mark says, it's probably just a dark. It's a dark beer porter, and it is. But I always call it my mild. So I'm going to be using some of these tips. This is from the that plant I said before, and I will get some spruce as well, put it in, and try and do a beer, and that'll be my next. I think that'll be my next beer. I'll be quite keen to do that. So stick around if you're keen, and like and subscribe, please. If you're a brewer. And if you're, just a home brewer that just likes to get some ideas, I'm going to be doing a lot of different herbs and spices and different types of beer. But just remember the basics. The basics are always here, right? Single malt, a few hops, and you'll learn a lot from doing that, more so than just going out and say, "Oh, I want to brew a freaking whatnot," and you put 50 hops and 50 malts, and you and you wouldn't have a clue what's going on. You can't decipher the difference. But if you start off one by one, a single malt, and you make a brew like this for say 5 brews, and you go, "That's really good. What am I going to do next?" Well, maybe you might want to put 100 grams of crystal, medium crystal, light crystal, dark crystal, and see what that does. And then brew a few brews like that. And take your time. Brewing is about taking your time. If you haven't got time to brew your beer, what do you have time for? Cheers, guys. You take care, and welcome along. Homebrew Wednesday on a Wednesday for a change. And cheers to everyone for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. So take care.